Hey guys, welcome to the next episode of the Capturing Your Love Show, where we talk about everything relationships, marriage, weddings, and so much more. Tonight we had Allie and Chris O'Neill on, who dove deep into the value of cherishing your relationships, having clear communication, and making sure your marriage finances are aligned with your future. So let's jump right in. We are here with Allie and Chris O'Neill, who we met so long ago, shot your wedding and had an awesome time. And we've worked a lot of weddings that you've been attending. You were in the wedding parties and a lot more to come. Thank you guys for coming onto the show and being a part of this. It's truly an honor to be here with you guys. Why don't you introduce yourselves and tell us a little about yourselves?
Well, first of all, thank you for having us. Happy to be here. My name is Chris O'Neill, and I'm 28 years old, live in Bethlehem, PA, with my wife, Allie, and our dog, Finn. He keeps us definitely busy, on our toes. He's a high-energy dog, so definitely keeps us, like I said, busy.
I'm Allie. I'm also 28, dog mom, as we already talked about. Just working, living life.
Awesome. Yeah. We're going to jump in. How do you two think that the rise in digital communication and social media has impacted the quality of relationships in dating culture today?
Definitely there's more pressure, I would say, because you're seeing these couples who may or may not actually be showing their true relationship, but it may look perfect online. So I definitely feel like there's a lot of pressure to be like a perfect couple that you might see a lot.
I would agree generally, like, right, everybody's always on Instagram, Twitter, whatever social network, and always comparing themselves to whoever the hottest thing in the street is at the time. So it's really tough when you set maybe these unrealistic expectations about what a perfect life looks like. As Allie said, right, that might not even be the case with what you're seeing online and everything. And also, I guess the way people tend to be nowadays, like online and everything, not that there's anything wrong with it, but me personally, I feel like I would find it hard to meet someone in that kind of space. So I feel like that just has jumped up more so over the past few years, or, so.
There was definitely, in my opinion, a huge uptick in performance in social media over, I would say, maybe like 10 years, starting from even 10 years back to today. And the reason we're doing this sit-down piece of content is because long-form, raw conversations, which is real and not polished, that's the truest form of being in the room with someone. There's no way to really hide. Like most people can with just maybe like a photo of like themselves smiling for a second or whatever it may be. So I totally agree. I agree with what you guys were saying there. In your view, what are the most significant challenges couples face today in dating culture when trying to build a lasting relationship?
I'll start with one that kind of comes to my mind, right, is just finances, honestly, like starting it all off, right, because that's always, eventually, you might not be thinking about that right away when you're dating, but, the more serious you get, that's obviously going to be a topic that is very important, obviously, with the way the world is right now, right, like, just everything seems to cost so much money, so it's definitely an important part, and something that I feel like as a couple you have to see eye to eye on, or that relationship is not going to go very far.
What is seeing eye to eye in a relationship in the finance department? I
would just say like what you choose, like how you choose to save versus like what you're spending on, right? If something you need, obviously, you're gonna get it, but if you're just spending money just to spend money, right, that probably won't work out in the end if your partner isn't on the same wavelength in that regard.
Yeah, or just general goals, like if you both want to travel a lot, obviously there's going to be a lot of money put into travel. So as long as you two are agreed upon spending money on travel, I think that makes sense too.
Yeah.
How did you two come to the table in your relationship, like with that subject, finances?
Since we work at the same company, we kind of like we had familiarity with how our finances, like 401k, like all that stuff kind of worked already. So, and we started at a similar time in the workforce, like he was a year earlier. So it's not like we had a huge difference in like amount of time, like he made more money or anything. So it's honestly we were pretty equal, and we just agreed, had similar lifestyles.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, we generally enjoy doing the same things, right? So, if she's going to be okay spending money on it, then chances are I probably will be as well, and vice versa. So I think it just works out. I don't even know if we've ever really had like a formal, long conversation about, what we're going to spend money on. It's like, just kind of tackle it as it comes, and, that's worked out for us so far.
Who's the better saver? Or should I say, who's the bigger spender?
Yeah, probably in that regard, she might be the bigger
Yeah,
spender. Just
probably.
Like you said I have style. This is about all I got, so I don't spend too much money on clothes or anything. So,
but to be fair, I spend most of my money at like TJ Maxx, so it's not like I'm buying designer.
Yeah. She is a savvy shopper, so
I'm a savvy. Yeah,
just doesn't work when you're going every day.
I'm unfortunately the bigger spender in my relationship, and Bryn pulls me down to reality a lot. So I resonate with you. I try my best to be savvy. Every now and then.
It's fine every now and then.
And honestly, like, we have an easier time, I guess, like justifying, spending money on a plane ticket or, hopping wherever to go somewhere, right? So we're aligned in that regard. Like, we're fine with spending money on that, right? So
and it comes down to values. You both value travel.
Yeah.
So you're okay when it comes to using the money you earned to experience travel.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Balancing independence and togetherness with the increasing emphasis on individualism and personal growth, how does one maintain a balance between developing as an individual and growing together as a couple? Where is that balance?
I would say having patience with each other, like allowing the other one to grow, or just like being under the notion that they might change as a person. So just having that in your head.
Yeah. And no, I feel like it's, just finding what you're passionate about, right? So I know she's passionate about artwork and doing different things for, like she mentioned, an Etsy shop earlier, right? So
what kind of artwork again?
I mean, really anything. Like, I actually started in college as an art major.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I switched it up just because, like, I couldn't see myself being super dedicated to that and, like, having that as my job. Like, I'd rather have it as kind of a hobby almost. But, so.
Yeah, no, so I think it's just about finding that passion that you have, whether it's shared or not with your partner, right? And then just kind of growing in that. And then as a supportive partner, right, you're going to push them to be the best at that they can be. And, within that, you might have some common interests, or even outside of that one, right, passion that you have, you might have some things that you enjoy together, and kind of just growing in that regard.
That's good stuff. How do you two feel societal and cultural expectations of marriage compare to the reality of being married? You've been married for over a year. So do you think that society's view of marriage is very true to what marriage actually is?
Yeah. I feel like we were talking about social media being negative, but at the same time, I feel like it's also making it more, like, visible and, like, relatable almost. So you see that you're not the only one, like, not having kids right now or something like that. So there is a positive. But I would say the kid notion still is, like, a pretty prominent thing, at least in older generations. Like, everyone always asks, like, oh, when are you going to start having kids? Like, immediately after you're married. And depending on, what you want, that might be an awkward question when it comes up.
Yeah. And honestly, like, to be honest, I don't even know what the societal view of marriage is like at this point. Like, I think Allie said, right, the older generation might view it as kind of the old standard way of marriage, whereas the younger generation might be less inclined to get married at a young age. So in that regard, I would say, I think it's pretty awesome to be married at a young age, right, and get to spend the rest of your life with the person you love, right? I don't think there's anything really cooler than that. So yeah, I think just those misconceptions that younger people maybe have nowadays are, I don't really, see that in our day to day, right? And the way our marriage has been.
I can share a little bit about how I had a misconception about marriage. My parents separated, and that was in high school. And out of high school, I started working at a bar, and I was bartending. I was serving and bartending. And everyone every day who showed up to the bar, they were drinking their sorrows away and pointing their finger at me saying, never get married, never get married, never get married. I'm like, bro, I know. Like, I grew up in a household where marriage did not work. I agree with you. And it really wasn't until I started surrounding myself with people who were married and knew how to manage their emotions, monitor communication, engage in proper communication, and do things correctly that I realized it's not about not getting married. It's about doing marriage right. And about doing relationships right and communicating with your partner, setting expectations, and just really evaluating as you go. People change. One of you mentioned that. You change as you grow. And the person you marry isn't going to be the person that you 30, 40, 50 years, pass away with. You'll be a totally different person. You have to be okay with that evolution because you as an individual will change and so will your partner. The misconception as a society, though, like, I agree, I may also not really know like a society's perception of marriage, but an example is, I grew up in a separated household, and I was surrounded by a lot of people who said, don't get married. So my misconception was based off of people who couldn't make it work. And I think if you just surround yourself with people who do make things work, whether it's in marriage or anything, an artsy shop or whatever it may be, or Etsy shop, sorry, an artsy Etsy shop, then you'll realize a misconception can just be swept away.
And I think the one thing you mentioned, right, is just having the correct expectations going into it, right? You know what to expect going, from the other person day in and day out. And, I know she's always going to want to do things by herself with her friends. I'm going to want to do things with my friends. So that's fine. That you need that.
And I came from a divorced household as well. Like, his parents are still married. So it was interesting to see. And like, I feel like my 3 closest friends, all of our parents are divorced. Like, we kind of had that experience, and then just seeing a different side of things, like how your family dynamic worked. It was interesting. So kind of got both sides of it. It just made me, having divorced parents obviously made me want to not be divorced. So that was my kind of expectation. But
I won't speak on anyone's situation, but when it comes to succeeding at something, you could either learn from someone else's success or someone else's failure. And I'm similar in a way where I looked at my parents, and I love them both as individuals, and regardless of whatever happened, I learned how not to be in a relationship with someone from them. So you're right. That's a proper way to go about it. We kind of talked about this a little bit, but how do financial pressures and career ambitions impact relationships and decisions as a couple? And in what ways have you two compromised to support each other?
I mean, like I said, I think it's with the whole just aligning on what the finances are and what you can and can't spend money on, right? Depending on your situation. You can't really have someone be blindsided by a move you're making, right? Or that's where it can get ugly and will not work out.
I've blindsided Bryn a couple times.
You probably learned your lesson though, right?
Sorry, Bryn.
I feel like as soon as you feel like, you want to change something up, just communicating that as soon as you can is always better than blindsiding someone. But I mean, for me, I knew I wanted to not live where I grew up. I wanted to move away from home. That was my one thing. But for you, that wasn't as much of a need than for me. So in that case, I feel like we got lucky. I mean, if you wanted to, then we probably would have gone somewhere not your home area. But yeah, I'd say communicating what you want, like kind of, even if it's just an idea, just putting it out there, letting the other know. So I know I sometimes, like, if I'm blindsided with something, I might not take it as well compared to if I had time to like process it. So yeah,
It might not be financial. That might be me forgetting to tell her that I'm doing something next weekend until the day of.
Is miscommunication a guy thing? Like, what's wrong with
every
us?
once in a while, you just think you tell them something, and then
or they tell us something.
yeah.
When did that happen?
Exactly.
Tell me, how did you two meet? And when did the connection happen as you started growing towards one another?
So I feel like we have two sides of the story here. So it was in college. We both went to Penn State. People that I ended up rooming with went to high school with him. So that's how I kind of got like to know him and like got to know all their friends and everything. But it was at a party, and all of a sudden, like, we're hopping around to different apartments, and I noticed that he is following us to different apartments at like these parties. But like my friends knew him, so it's not like it was a total stranger.
Yeah, I wasn't just
stalking.
making me sound really weird.
Like, cause like, yeah, there were mutual friends involved, but like I just noticed that he kept like going to different parties with us. And then I remember the next morning he's like, "Do you want to get Chipotle?" And I said, "No." I know. I was, yeah.
Heartbroken.
Yeah. And then, of course, like, the tables turned, and, like, I was interested in him, and he was, like, giving me the cold shoulder. And then finally, we both agreed, you know, we like each other. We don't need to play this game anymore.
Well, you said there were two sides of the story.
Yeah.
What's the other?
Maybe less creepy for this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember, one specific night or anything like she's talking about, but, yeah, I mean, basically we just had, similar mutual group of friends, right? So we would always just naturally, end up at the same spots, hanging out and whatnot. And I just really, even from the first time I saw her, like, just knew that I always had an eye for her and like liked her a lot. So as she said, maybe once she actually took an interest in me, then I played a little hard to get, but I don't know what the situation was with that. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I always knew that the first time I saw her that I had an interest in her and everything. So eventually it all worked out.
Yeah.
And she might have accepted my Chipotle date eventually.
We like Chipotle.
Yeah. I mean, back then, broke college kids, you can't do a whole lot.
Also,
so.
Chipotle used to be a really good price for a lot of food.
Yeah.
Like, it went up.
Exactly.
Yeah, not even worth it anymore.
Yeah.
Man,
now we can't even afford it as an adult.
It's okay. Just spend it on travel.
Yeah,
That's all
exactly.
that matters. What happened between Chipotle date number 1 and proposing? How did you get to proposing?
Yeah.
So a lot. I mean, I graduated in 2017. So, we had to do the whole long distance thing for about a year. She graduated in 2018.
Yeah.
And then before we totally jump into continuing that, talk about the long distance thing a little bit more, because that's actually a really tough thing that a lot of people like. Bryn and I thought we were long distance when she was 50 minutes north, but there are a lot of couples that are real long distance. So tell us, how did you guys navigate that?
Yeah. I mean, we were within driving distance, so like that's good. So I can't speak to like, plane across the country distance, but just agreeing to make time for each other, like picking weekends that will work. I mean, we pretty much stayed like in a pretty frequent communication, but that might depend on the people. Like, you might not want to have to communicate all the time. But yeah, for us, I felt like keeping in somewhat frequent communication was important. And then making time, like picking weekends to see each other, whether you come back to Penn State or I went to...
Yeah, like I know the first time that she came to my house was when we were doing the whole, she was at college and I was back at home, right? So I told my parents that I had a friend coming over, just a friend. So they were expecting, a guy to show up.
Oh,
yeah.
It was Allie. So that was the first time they met her. Everything went great. But yeah, the long distance, I mean, right, you could text and call and do all that. It's just not the same as actually seeing the person in person. So I think, like Ali said, just trying to, and it was only, 2.5, 3 hours. So it's not like when I say long distance, right? It's not crazy long. So, I would make it a point to go visit on weekends when I could. And she came up to visit, when she could. So, but yeah, I mean, it was definitely tougher than actually being together all the time. But, yeah, I think in the end, right, it just made our relationship stronger because we realized how much we did miss each other when we weren't together all the time. So I think it, might have been a good thing in the end.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you're traveling long distance. How'd you get to the proposal?
Yeah, so I mean, we had an apartment together once she moved to East, and we had an apartment together for about 2 years. And once I prefer living with somebody before you're going to make a huge move, like, propose and everything like that. I think it works out better for me, and I think she is in the same boat, right? So once we realized that actually living together worked well enough, we actually bought a house together before the proposal. So then we were really living together. Yeah.
What year did you get a home?
2021.
It was right at
Kudos.
the start of
yeah.
it becoming crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like when we bought the house together, we knew that we were gonna get married. So,
Yeah. I mean, I can continue with the proposal if you want.
Sure.
All right. Yeah. So I mean, then we were officially living together, like I said, and then we knew it was kind of time, right? We had discussed getting engaged and everything, so she probably knew it was coming up at some point. And then I just went out to pick out a ring with her friend and my mom, just so I didn't screw anything up.
Did they pick it or did you pick it? Like,
I picked it.
Did you lean on their
So I
suggestions?
I had an idea of like the style and everything that she wanted, so I picked it, and then just they were there just to make sure everything looked okay and whatnot. Confirmed, yeah. So I had the ring, and then we mentioned Sea Isle earlier, so we go there pretty much every year with her side of the family. So, I asked her dad's permission and everything, did it the right way. So he said yes, and then we get down to Sea Isle, and her mom hired a photographer, and then we started to walk on the beach like it's a normal family shoot. Like, her mom's pretty sentimental, so I just had her, tell Allie that we just wanted some beach pictures. Like, that's all. It's been forever since we got some family pictures.
She said it was for a Christmas card,
yeah,
which I believed. Like, she loves that kind of stuff, so yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we were about ready to go onto the beach for the engagement photos, and she's all worried about her outfit, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, out of all things. And
Yeah,
then
they thought I knew.
Yeah,
like that it was happening, and that's why I was freaking out.
Did you have any hunch or intuition?
No. Like, I honestly had no idea. So I was just literally like, is my outfit okay? Like, just freaking out over that. Nothing deeper than that.
Yeah. So I didn't know what the issue was, but obviously, like, I was freaking out myself. But we finally, she's done changing her outfit and everything, and then we head down to the beach, and we start walking away. We're the first couple to go naturally to get our picture taken, and we start holding hands and walking away, and then finally I drop down to a knee, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
Cry a little bit.
Oh yeah, I was bawling. But yeah, like, I had no idea until we were actually like holding hands walking down the beach, and then I was like, this could be like that kind of situation. But like, literally up until that moment, like, I don't know how my entire family like didn't give it away, because everyone knew. Like, they were all there. And like, I feel like I'm pretty intuitive, so I was like, I feel like I would have picked up on something, but I didn't. And the whole Christmas card, totally believe that. So it was a really good proposal.
What month? And do you remember the month and date that the proposal happened?
It was June,
like 20th of
19, 18, 17?
Yeah.
When was it?
21.
21.
Was it?
I feel like it might have been 18 or something. Because my mom's birthday was the 16th. It's around that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
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 How soon after the proposal, You got all the euphoria out of the way. Did you start planning the wedding?
I mean,
Did you have a Pinterest board rocked and ready already?
She was ready to go
yeah,
for sure.
I didn't have like a Pinterest board or like a dream wedding like in mind, but I'm like very type A and like I love planning. So like I was ready to go, but I didn't necessarily have like an idea of exactly what I wanted. But yeah, like because we were on vacation for a week at the beach, so I feel like we honestly started planning like kind of the next day, at least like since we were with my mom, like going through guest lists, like kind of starting to look at venues. So yeah, pretty much
Next day.
right away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
What was the most challenging factor of planning a wedding? Was it the guest list or was it something else?
I'll let her speak on this because really I was just giving my opinion for what not to do because I feel like every time I gave my opinion we just went the opposite way,
I don't know.
which worked for me. But
I would say, I mean, depending on your family dynamic, yeah, guests can definitely be, and like the seating chart could be a huge problem. We had like a few things where we're like, okay, we know these people sit together, but nothing like huge. So honestly, I feel like the hardest part was the details for me, like picking like our first dance song. That was really hard. Like we didn't have a specific like this is our relationship song. So we were kind of just going through everything, and like we both really like music, so there's a wide range of things that we would go with, but like picking that perfect song was definitely a challenge. I remember.
yeah, and I mean honestly, like I got to give her credit. She did, like I
Yeah.
said, all the work. So
What was one thing you said like, no, we're not doing this, or I don't like this? Do you remember any of it?
I can't even remember. Honestly, it's
Yeah.
like that whole process I feel like is all just a blur. Like
Yeah.
you're just doing so many things, right? We had to pick the perfect photographer, which we did.
How
Yeah.
did you guys land on us again? I totally forget.
So we were
Billy
and
and
Nat.
Natalie.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
They
That's
hooked
how
us
we
up.
heard.
Them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love them. Shout out Natalie and
Yeah.
Billy.
Seriously.
Man,
Yeah.
love them.
And then we've passed you down to
Yeah.
other people a couple times. It's
Yeah.
got a good network going here.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, like, we were both kind of on the same page. Like, we didn't want to do, like, the bouquet toss, maybe, like, the traditional, like, wedding things. We both were kind of like, we don't have to do them.
Yeah.
So I feel
We
like
just
there
wanted
was
to-
nothing, like, super that you were anti, I guess,
Yeah.
against.
No, I think we both wanted to just cut right to the chase, right? Get the first dance in, mother-daughter, or mother, son, father-daughter dance, get those in and everything, and then just kind of get right to the actual party of it. 'cause-
Yeah. We were,
Yeah. So we were definitely aligned on that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I must say, gorgeous wedding.
Thank
You two looked stunning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stunning. Top most stunning portfolio building website or work we've ever captured.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And such a fun group of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your family and friends are so fun.
Yeah,
I know.
they know how to
Yeah,
have fun for sure.
we're so lucky, honestly. Like, my family loves him, his family loves me. Like, they both get along. We happen to share a ton of mutual friends that are all fun. Like, we definitely got lucky in that
Yeah.
department.
Penn State crowd.
Penn State,
Yeah.
yeah,
Come on.
can't go wrong.
Really
Penn
don't have to
State.
say anymore. just
Yeah.
that, but-
Awesome.
Yeah.
Really cool. What was your biggest W and your biggest L on the wedding day?
Biggest L. Oh, actually, I have two. So my veil fell out as I was walking down the aisle. We didn't pin it in well enough. So in the moment I had no idea, but like later they were telling me, and they actually like they did come up behind me as I was like up at the altar, and like I felt them like put something in my hair. Like I didn't really put it together, and then it fell out again like during the ceremony. So
What
Not-
happened then? I totally forget. Were you like,
I just-
did you say leave
yeah,
it?
I was
what
just like,
happened?
leave it. It's fine. But then the second one, which was kind of out of our hands, but the DJ actually went to the wrong place. They were somewhere in Philly, at a country club in Philly that had an, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And like, so,
Yeah. And I
So they
mean,
weren't
at
there.
first we were like, "Don't tell Allie, like, don't tell Allie," and it was only for, it was only going to be for cocktail hour, so it wasn't, going to
Yeah.
be that big of a deal. But still, I was afraid she would freak
Yeah,
out.
it's
So.
like everyone was keeping it from me, which was fine. And then of course my mom, she's like, the DJ isn't here. I'm like, thanks, Mom. But no, yeah, luckily they just missed cocktail hour. They made it right in time for like the reception. So honestly, like it's not the worst thing that could have happened. It worked out. But that was definitely a big L.
Yeah. I guess. Do you have a W right now?
If you have one, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with the L's as well, I guess. I feel like I just spent a lot of time just wandering around, just trying to say hi to everybody. And, we had like an outdoor area, just a bunch of different areas that you could go. So I feel like I didn't spend as much time as I would have liked, like on the dance floor with everybody else. So that's definitely something I regret. And
Yeah.
Allie probably agrees with.
I mean, yeah, it's hard. Like they do say like do not leave each other's side. Like I feel like we heard that a lot going into it, but in the moment it is hard because like you have your family, you might get split up at one point, but I would definitely agree, like try not to split up as much as you can.
Yeah.
Because like on the dance floor, if like you get called, like the DJ, I remember he was like, all right, Chris and Allie, like do whatever, and like
It's like, oh, Chris isn't here.
it was just me, but it was funny. But that's a good piece of advice. Don't split up.
Yeah, so definitely don't do that. Don't just worry about your wife and everything. And then another L, like at the church we did a unity candle, and
This was in the video.
yeah.
I love that it made the video.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
So, it almost fell, but it didn't. I caught it.
We may have almost burned down a church.
Yeah. So,
Beautiful church as well.
Beautiful
oh
church,
my
yeah.
gosh.
Oh yeah, that church is
but,
amazing.
Yeah, no, the thing was like we were doing the rehearsal the day before, and the candle wasn't exactly fitting in the holder the right way, so I pretty much knew it was going to happen. I was just hoping I could react quick enough to prevent the church from burning down. So I did, so I'll give myself a semi-L on that one.
Yeah.
It all worked
I'd
out.
call that a W, to be honest.
True.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll use that as a
Saved
W.
the church.
Exactly. That's a W. You may have to insert a clip of that moment. But yeah, and I mean,
the W has to be just, I feel like it's one of the very few, if not the only times, right, that you're going to have every single person that you care about in the same location, right? So from her side of the family, my side of the family, all of our friends. So that's definitely a really special moment that you're, like I said, you're probably only going to have once in your lifetime. So that's definitely, don't take that for granted.
yeah.
Awesome. Did you have a honeymoon?
Yeah. Yep. We went to Jamaica, I guess, right after, right?
Yeah, a
Yeah.
couple days
Next
after.
morning? Couple days.
Yeah, a couple days after. Couldn't make it the next morning.
No, that was too much.
Yeah. But yeah, so we went to Jamaica for a week, and that was awesome. Like
Like an all inclusive.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
relax.
we both
Yeah.
mentioned, we liked the beach, right?
Yeah.
We weren't trying to do anything crazy, especially after planning the wedding, having the wedding, right? So just trying to hang out and relax.
Smart move.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wish Bryn and I did that.
Did you go somewhere crazy?
We road tripped.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
3 weeks. It was just like 1 weekend. I'm like, man, we're still going, aren't we? It was fun, and I loved
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
we got to do something all inclusive one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I definitely want to do, all the exploring of Italy, wherever it is, right? Just not that time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Honeymoon, back to reality, to today. What has been the biggest changes?
I mean, like we mentioned, we already had the house before. So, that was nice. We didn't have to, worry about that when we got back. But I'd say like a challenge would be like the kids thing. Just the pressure to do it, and like
Do you feel pressure to have kids? Like from your family and from friends?
definitely from family more than friends. Like we have a few, like Natalie and Billy, for example, like they have their daughter. But for the most part, our friends are still getting married. Like, this upcoming year we have tons of weddings. So luckily we're in a familiar place, like with across our friendships. So that helps.
Were you at the beginning of the curve of people getting married?
Yeah, I would say
pretty
we were,
much.
one of the first 5 or so out of our friends that got married. So definitely, not started that trend, but like, one of the first to get married. So, but yeah, I think the pressure is more from the family rather than the friends, like she said. Maybe more so from her family, since I already have a niece and a nephew, so I don't have to worry about it. But,
Will it be your side of the family's first grandkid? Your parents?
Yeah.
That'll be fun for them.
Yeah. They're looking forward to it.
How do you think you will both be as parents?
I mean, I think you'll be a great dad. I'm trying to think of who would be like the lean parent versus the strict parent.
I feel like I wouldn't. Well, yeah, you'd be a great mom as well. I feel like I wouldn't be able to, get that mad. So I don't know.
Oh, you need to get mad
No,
sometimes?
no. I don't want to get mad. But like she was saying, who's going to be like the strict parent and whatnot. So I feel like I'm going to go with her on the strict parent, and then I'll have to be a baby and baby the kid. So
Yeah. I feel like he rarely gets mad or like frustrated. When it comes to like home improvement projects, that's when he gets frustrated. But outside of that, he's pretty even tempered. So
what do you mean, like when you're doing stuff? Bro, I lose my mind with home improvement projects. Nothing gets me more stressed out.
It's
like Brittany's a far better carpenter, like handy person than me, like by far, because I get like a minute in, and I have this temper only with home improvement stuff.
Yeah,
it's insane. Are you the same way?
Yeah, it's literally the same.
We were trying to she wants all these fancy lights in the house, so we were trying to replace all the lights, and I don't know, the fixture on the top of the ceiling just wasn't fitting in the right way, and I was getting just so frustrated. Like I have a very short fuse when it comes to that type of stuff, so
I feel you
definitely also not a carpenter. But yeah, we figured it out eventually.
What strengths do you know about one another that you'll know will be very valuable once you are parents?
He's definitely more, I mean, easygoing isn't the right word maybe, but just more flexible. Like I was saying earlier, like I'm not good with being like super blindsided with things. So I feel like if something like that happens, he would definitely react better to it. Just like, it's okay, it's gonna happen the way it happens, versus I might get more wrapped up in that, but that's definitely a strength of yours.
Yeah, I mean, she's just so caring, and I feel like kids just naturally gravitate to her, right? Like my niece and nephew love her, so it's I don't know, it just seems natural. But also I feel like our schedules, right? So I feel like I'm more of a morning person and she's not a morning person. So in that regard, I think it'll work out well.
That's perfect.
That's awesome.
So I think I'll be doing the 3 a.m. calls, and she'll get the later on.
Awesome. Very cool. So we had this entire conversation about your relationship from start to finish, and I mean, you've been married for a year and 4 months and some days, and you have a lot of friends who are getting married, and there's a lot of people all over the planet who may value relationships and want to get in relationships. What golden nuggets from being in a relationship before proposal to planning your wedding, executing your wedding, to being married, what kind of golden nuggets do you want to share with the world?
I mean, yeah, for me, I would say just always keep that line of communication open, right? It's always important to be on the same page with whatever you're going to do in life, no matter how big or small it might seem, right?
We kind of talked about it before, but it was something that our officiant also made a point in our vows about. So he was like, patience is key, whether it's in the moment doing a home improvement project or you are having a fight, trying to keep your patience with that, but then also as long term, keeping patience with each other as you grow, and knowing that things might not be the way they started, but kind of accepting that and being patient with each other. That's a big thing. Because, like, it's easy to, in the short term, be like, oh, yeah. I mean, it's not easy to be patient in the moment sometimes, but just keeping that in mind, the stereotypical never go to bed angry, but it's true. Just try to hash it out, like, in the moment.
Yeah, that definitely pays dividends. And I would say just always kind of keep it interesting, right? Like, find things you enjoy doing together and then do them, I guess. But, like, it's like it's not always gonna be like the most exciting time of your life, right? But just find those things that you like to do together and have fun with it.
Yeah. But don't be afraid to do things on your own as well. We kind of touched on that. Definitely, be your own person. Try not to completely combine into one person.
Some couples do that.
Yeah. Which, like, I mean, it might work for them depending on, but I think it's always good to have, your friends that you hang out with by yourself and activities you could do by yourself. Yeah.
Good stuff. I may or may not include this next question. It's a little controversial, but you brought up vows. How do you two feel about vows?
Like writing your own versus...
Well, you write them, you vow them. The controversial question is, when is it okay for those vows to be broken?
Okay.
That's a good question.
Like, at what point does a relationship, like, is there justification for a relationship to be broken off just because of, like, in your vows? Do you remember your vows?
We did the basic, like, we didn't write our own.
Yeah, we didn't write
the basic,
our own.
like, in sickness and health.
Yeah, like, the vows don't say, like, except when you get really sick or when I lose my patience. Like, the vows are saying and vowing to stay with you no matter what. And so I truly believe that vows are not taken seriously, especially when it comes to separation. And it's a reason that there is separation, because there's not a seriousness revolving around vows. So like I said, I may or may not even include this.
Okay.
But I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Do you find yourselves breaking your vows?
I mean, I don't think I find myself breaking the vows, but I think just to answer the question of, like, when is it okay to break the vows, right? I think going into a relationship and a marriage, you have this mindset that you're going to grow together, right, and change along the way. That's just natural. If somebody is not growing and changing the way you are, or the way you had talked about and planned with your partner, then it might be time to find something that might work out better for you, right?
Well, what does that mean?
Just having a talk with that person and seeing if they're telling them, what you're feeling and seeing and everything. And if it's not right for you, right, you can't be miserable the rest of your life. So, I mean, that's...
So are you saying that you would have potentially put in, and I'm just going to pick in here just because I'm experimenting. Are you saying that you would have included in your vows, Allie, if you're not growing the way that I would like you to grow, we're going to split?
That's kind of contradictory to what I was just saying, but...
And I am just picking on you.
I know.
You see
yeah,
that,
no,
like,
I
vows
see
are
what you're
super
saying.
serious. So what justifies the vows to be broken?
I mean, being a child of divorce, I feel like that's the main thing that sticks out to me. Like, I think you should try, obviously, your hardest to stay together, but when there's kids involved and it might not be working out in, like, an unhealthy way, I feel like that could, affect your child in a negative way as well. So I feel like when it comes to that, I could see breaking your vows. But...
So are you saying with that example that you would have put in your vows, if our relationship turns toxic to the point where it's hurting our kids, we can break up?
Yeah, I mean...
That's what you said.
Yeah, I don't... Yeah.
Right? Like
So,
if Chris goes and murders someone, right? That's the tough one.
Yeah.
Like, hey, man, like, I didn't marry a murderer.
Yeah,
right?
tough to get past that one.
There's things that that are higher on the Richter scale of being break-upable with, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I would say there's a big school of thought that's like, if you are unloyal, we're breaking up.
Yeah.
But like there's some people that are like, if you don't bow to my every will and need and make me happy, we're breaking up. Where I don't think that's completely correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
And I mean, I guess I would say I feel like we're two pretty normal people, not like, having to bow to each other or anything like that. So I guess just going back to you said, like, what would actually cause that to happen, right? Like, I just goes back to like what the shock value of the action is, right? Murdering someone versus, not bowing at the correct time.
That's
so
right. It is an important topic because vows are meant to, I mean, a vow is like more than a promise. It's like, I pinky promise, okay. So kids would be like,
Yeah.
oh, I promise.
Yeah.
But a vow is holy. And it says, you can get sick and be an incredible burden to me and take my life away from taking care of you, and I'm still going to love you and take care of you.
yeah.
That's what a vow means.
Yeah.
It's a holy promise, like no matter what, right?
Yeah. No,
So
absolutely.
there's not a lot of respect for vows when you
Yeah.
have an increase of divorces and separations, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I brought it up.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a really good question. It's a tough one to
Yeah.
answer.
And it helps you really evaluate, like, hey, I'm not consciously thinking of these vows. We made them. I was consciously, agreeing to them.
Yeah.
But when life gets tough, you got to consciously remind yourself it's a holy vow. You didn't say when things get tough, we're gonna
Yeah.
blah blah blah.
At
or
the drop of
whatever.
a hat. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, we'll bring us out of the depths. Chris, Allie, thank you for joining us on the Capturing Your Love show. It was a pleasure, talking with you, chatting with you, and getting to know you. And I'm excited for the future and to see you, grow in your relationship with one another, and maybe have you back on the show when you're elders with, 30 grandkids and who knows what else, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
I mean, it was awesome kind of taking a look into our own love lives, which, you maybe don't get a chance to do enough. So definitely an awesome experience. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Really appreciate it.